Hey, this is Bryce Harper, and welcome to the Phillies show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies show. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zulecki. It's Friday, July 19th, 2024. It's the All-Star break. Time to relax and kick back. Did you guys do anything fun over the All-Star break? Ruben, what'd you do over the All-Star break?
I didn't really do much. Did a little WIP action. I did, a little radio, a little this, a little that. I hosted with my man Jody Mack, who is a icon and been doing it for years and years and years. New York, Philly, everywhere. His dad was a GM and an executive for many, many years. Mets, Detroit Tigers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Did you watch the All-Star game or catch any highlights or anything like that?
Caught some highlights. I watched a little bit of the game, but not very much, to be honest, because, I have a life.
Jim, how was the All-Star game for you?
Well, I just want to make a point about Jody Mack's dad, Joe McDonald, legendary former Mets GM, and one of the nicest guys in baseball. If you've ever had an opportunity to meet him, it's kind of special to meet him. So I'd see him around at ballparks a lot of times in spring training, very friendly. But one day I was, after you guys, Ruben, won the World Series in 2008, right before spring training, I went down and spent a couple days with Charlie Manuel to do a series of stories just about how life had changed and, being a world champion. And he was predictably great and funny. And I think we talked fishing. It might have went fishing, but one day we went for barbecue. We went to this place called Peebles Barbecue, very Southern, just kind of a dingy old pig stand, a rib house. And we got some ribs and Joe McDonald was in there. So
that's awesome.
That's wild.
Yeah, we bumped into Joe McDonald many years ago, but that was a lot of fun.
Joe McDonald used to go, still goes to games. To games. He lives in Lakeland, I believe.
Yeah. So it was right by Lakeland.
He's always going to games. I always see him in Clearwater. Even to this day. I think he might be in his 90s.
Yeah.
And I still think he's going to baseball games from time to time.
That's cool.
Kind of crazy, man. You talk about a baseball lifer. Holy moly.
He lives in Lakeland area because of his time with the Tigers, and Charlie being over in Winter Haven, it's all kind of right there. But my All-Star break, I love the All-Star game. When I was a kid, it was one of the highlights of my summer, and I think I've covered about 20 of them. It's always stiflingly hot. Wherever it is, it's just always 1,000 degrees. But anyway, I settled in to watch it on Tuesday night, and I watched Corbin Burns pitch the top of the first inning, and I watched Paul Skeens go out to pitch the bottom of the first, and the power went out. We had a hellacious storm. The power went out, so I couldn't watch the game. And we're kind of recording here about 49 hours later, and I still have no power. But I was able to get the generator going and get the router going and get some lights, and we're able to, bring the people what they want, the Todd Pod.
Hey, but this is the second iteration of this pod because we tried to do it earlier with your phone.
We tried.
And we had some real issues, and in fact, there was one part where Jimmy actually walked past the front of his phone, and
he didn't know he was on. He didn't know he was on.
It was fortunately he was clothed, but it would have been a heck of a shot had he not had he been a little short with his shorts.
Yeah, I was properly attired. I haven't showered in a while, but I was properly attired.
That would have been a great comeback for all the things that I did to you in the locker room, guys.
Oh my God, so
Not
good.
touching that one.
So good. Yeah, I watched the All-Star game. The Phillies showed out pretty well. All the three infielders got a hit. Chris Sanchez threw 2 pitches, 2 batters. Hoffman scoreless appearance, Strom scoreless appearance. They did pretty well. So now we're getting back to it. Second half coming up.
I think my favorite image from the All-Star game, it's gotten so big, and so like it's like a lot
of pomp and circumstance now.
Yeah, the red carpet and the glam of it all, but it was really cool to see Alec Boehm go down the red carpet with his mom and dad. Getting to the big leagues is a family affair. It's a family journey, and I thought I thought it said a lot about him.
Yeah, he also had a very cool jacket on, right? That suit he had on had this whole the path to the major leagues. Yeah, all of the stops that he had. That had all the logos of the teams that he played for as he was matriculating through the system.
High school all the way up to the big leagues, all the way.
And he really showed well in the home run derby. Really impressive. He had great effort. That was great.
He really came on strong in the derby.
And the other thing that was really cool, and it shows a lot about what this team's about, is pretty much every single person that was there for the All-Star game for the Phillies, they were all there to support him. All on the field, helping them, supporting them, giving them love, and that's a really neat thing. And that's not the case for a lot of the other teams.
Yeah, I think there were some other players that didn't have a lot of all their guys there. So it does jump on. And that really does tell you, Ruben, that these guys are legit close and pull for one another. And it is a real good clubhouse.
Real unique and really cool. And it's a joy to cover them, but it's also a joy to watch how they interact.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, so the Phillies kick off the second half on Friday night against Pittsburgh. They're coming off this fantastic first half, 62 wins, franchise record before the break. They've got, I think they're tied for second in baseball in runs per game. The rotation it's the best rotation in baseball. The bullpen had the third best ERA in baseball until Sunday, and then they blew up, and then they're down to 13th now. But the bullpen's been pretty good as well. 5 storylines. We thought about this. Some storylines to look for in the second half, and number one, probably Zack Wheeler and Ranger Suárez returning to dominance and easing any concerns about back issues, anything like that. How that number one, maybe right at the top.
I got to go number one there because this is a team that's built on its starting pitching. Starting pitching is the bedrock of the team, and those are 2 hugely important guys that you've leaned on throughout the entire first half. You're going to lean on in the second half. You're going to really lean on it in October. The rotation leads the majors in ERA. It literally is the best rotation in Major League Baseball. The Phillies say both of them had some back issues, and I'm not doubting that. Probably a little twinge or something, but I kind of look at this layoff for both guys as load management, necessitated by what we've seen with our eyes, maybe a little fatigue. So I just want to see them come back next week in their first start back and in the subsequent starts, just looking like outstanding major league pitchers again, looking like what they were in the first half. I'm not so much worried about health because I do think in a lot of ways this was load management. I just want to see them good again, and I think that'll put a lot of minds at ease, and from the front office down to the clubhouse, up to the people in the seats.
Yeah, and I actually think that that Wheeler was still pitching pretty well, but there's obviously because he mentioned that he had some back issues for a few starts. That was a little bit of concern. He wasn't, I guess, in his last 3 or 4 starts, not as dominant as he can be at times, but still really, really good, and still threw up quality starts. The guy that was concerning to me, obviously, was Ranger Suárez because of his last 3 or 4 starts. Jumps his ERA, I mean, pretty significantly, and his ERA, I guess, in those 3 or 4 starts around 8 or over 8. That's not Ranger-like. Obviously not nearly as he wasn't nearly as sharp as he was in the first part of the season, his first 14 starts or whatever, 13 starts, and because he was basically automatic. And you get a little concerned about fatigue and arm, the dead arm period and that sort of thing. I think that's sort of what Ranger was up against a little bit there at the end. He had never logged that many innings. He'd never pitched that much. He'd never been really healthy from the beginning of the season or ready at the beginning of the season because of visa issues and health issues or what have you. Never really logged this kind of mileage. And so that was new to his body. I think that he probably had a little bit of a tweak in his back. He's had it before. I don't think it's major, but I do think his arm really needed to bounce back. He was pitching with a lot more effort than he was in the first part of the season, trying to make his pitches. You could see he was forcing the pitches into or trying to force the pitches into the strike zone. Not nearly the same command with his breaking ball, changeup, and fastball. And it showed. And I am also hoping that he bounces back and has that sharpness to his stuff that he had in the first part of the season.
Yeah, Ranger, 114 innings at the All-Star break. Last season, he had 62. I think his career high was in 2022. He might have had 84 innings at the All-Star break. So he's way beyond what he's ever been before. So you get Wheeler going, you get Suárez going, everything starts to feel a little bit better about the health of the rotation. Number two storyline, maybe number two thing to watch is just overall health. This is something that Rob Thompson talks about a lot. You know, you say, what are you concerned about, Rob, right now? He's like, the health of my players. I got to keep these guys healthy. You're getting JT Realmuto back. You know, you survived Trea Turner being out. You survived the groin injury from Kyle Schwarber. You survived the hamstring injury for Bryce Harper, which wasn't super major. But just keeping these guys healthy, right? I mean, that's avoiding any dramatic injuries down the stretch, just going into the postseason at full strength. So I think you talked about load management, Jim. You know, you're going to see a 6-man rotation later this season. At some point, you might see maybe some guys down the stretch get a few more days off so they can go into the postseason healthy. How important is that?
Absolutely vital, because I think injuries are the only thing that can take this team down. And this team is really skilled at playing over injuries. Their reserve core is tremendous, the way these guys step up and fill the breach when someone goes down, be it Bryce Harper 2 years ago, be it Harper and Schwarber this year, be it JT and Turner this year. The reserve players, the bench has been tremendous in, playing over those losses, but I think it has limits. I think you can only go to the well so many times. So I think the remainder of the year, you need to avoid serious, lengthy trips to the IL, because I believe if you win this thing, you're going to win this thing with the guys who are already here. Even if they make additions at the trade deadline, I think you have superstar talent up and down the lineup. You have experienced, in their prime talent up and down the lineup. You're going to win with the guys that are here. Might be some nice complementary pieces coming that'll help. But the core guys that are here are what's going to win you this thing, and you need them on the field, and you need them on the field in October. Health is, to me, a huge storyline.
Yeah, at times this is a war of attrition. 162 games is a lot in this day and age with, travel demands and so many things going on. I know that, that load management phrase is a big catchphrase these days. But again, it's about making sure that these guys are on the field and performing at their highest level. And it's really about, for me, it's really about peaking at the right time too, because this team is going to win the division, I do believe. And when they win the division, they're going to have to try to be playing the best baseball they can be, because they're going to have some time off. They may be getting a bye or so. So there's a whole other factor there that you want to make sure that these guys are sort of going on all cylinders at the right time, because that little break has nailed some teams, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle that.
Would you have done anything different, or could anything, Ruben, in 2011? You guys clinched so early, and you had that losing streak at the end. I mean, is that something that you look back on and you say, man, there's something we could have done differently to keep these guys sharp, or, I don't know, maybe it was unpreventable what happened?
Well, I just think there was more in that situation, my feeling was it was an issue of the St. Louis Cardinals just being so super hot, man. Sure. I just think that they were playing their best baseball at the right time, just like with the Phillies in 2008 were playing their best baseball during the course of of October. And so that's the reason why the Phillies won that World Series, because there was some question about, whether that was the most talented team in the game at the time. So it's really about being able to play your best baseball at the right time. I mean, the Phillies last year were the best team in baseball. They should have walked right over Arizona. Mm-hmm. They should have beaten up on Texas. I really believe in my heart of hearts it was a better team than everybody. But, hey, this is when you get into those 7-game, 5-game, 7-game series, things can change.
Yeah. Jim, you mentioned complimentary players maybe at the trade deadline. That's obviously something that we talked about it on Monday, trade deadline, July 30th, 11 days away. What are they going to do? Right-handed bat? Do they get another relief pitcher in the late innings to complement some of those guys back there? Give Rob Thompson a few more options. Do they go all in and trade some of the big guys? Right? I mean, what do you think? What's your initial thought when you try to predict what the Phillies are going to do? What should they do?
Well, I hear that expression, will they go all in, all the time? And I just will point out they are all in. They have a $300 million shortstop, a $300 million first baseman, a $100 million right fielder, an $80 million DH, $115 million catcher, $170 million number 2 starter, and Zack Wheeler.
Is that a lot of money? I'm just curious.
Yeah, Zack Wheeler's been starting next year. Zack Wheeler for 3 years is 43, 43, and 43. That type of a financial outlay, to me, embodies being all in. That said, I know what you're saying. Are they going to empty the farm system for to get them over the hump? I think they have a team that can win it right now. I really do. It's about performance. It's about staying healthy, about playing good in October, not running into a team that knocks you out or is super hot like St. Louis was that year. But I also am not naive enough to think that a tweak here or an addition here or there is going to help. I like the idea of a right-handed hitting bat to platoon with Marsh. I think the combination of the right-handed bat and Marsh is a pretty good player. Mm-hmm. And I think they will get a right-handed bat in the outfield. I also think they will get a bullpen arm. I don't know if it'll be in the 9th inning, 8th inning, 7th inning. I think they will get both. I think Dave Dombrowski knows that to get both of those pieces is going to take a good team and make it even better. So I expect action at the trade deadline. This thing hasn't even begun to heat up yet. We don't even know who the buyers and the sellers are. People are throwing stuff out there. You don't know. Everybody's talking about Oakland with Rooker and Miller. That's Miller. I'd love to see Miller here. I don't know if the Phillies are going to give up the 4 prospects it's going to take to get him. But, I look at Washington. They got a pretty nice right-handed bat in that Lane Thomas. They got a late game bullpen guy in Finnegan. The guy in Anaheim's a pretty good bat, Taylor Ward. There are others. And I think as teams define themselves as a buyer or a seller, I don't know what's going to happen in Boston. I mean, they were right in it. They got their act together against the Phillies by winning that series. And they've been playing great. But they still haven't really indicated if they're buyers or sellers. And, management over there has kind of acted wishy-washy all winter. So I don't know if they're going to be, if they've even determined if they're a buyer or seller. If they go south over the next 2 weeks, maybe they move somebody that could interest you, like a Tyler O'Neill. So I still think all of this, I think the checkered flag or whatever flag they start a race with, the green flag, is it?
Yeah, I think it's green flag.
I don't even think it's been waved yet. I don't even think it's been waved yet on the trade deadline.
Well, you don't think that Hunter Harvey was a little bit of a start? I mean, you had South Kansas City jump up and go get him to add to their.
So we're at
that was one. That was one. We got into one lap. But
okay, we're at a couple laps. Hey, let me ask you this: we had the draft the other night. They took a center fielder with the number 1 pick, and then they doubled down and got another good outfielder with their 2nd pick. Do you think maybe they're adding outfield depth for maybe the departure of Justin Crawford or willingness to move at Justin Crawford?
I think that conspiracy theory is a little too conspiracy theorist. Theory. I don't even know the word. I think is it possible that they can do that now? Maybe, but I don't know that was the thought process going in. Can't imagine that would have been a thought process. I mean, it's very possible, I guess, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Brian Barber's one of those guys that's going to get the best player available, and he felt like position players early, pitching late, because there were so many arms out there that they could wait on some of the arms, and the position players are hard to find. Guys who can hit and have high ceilings, who can be really good offensive players. It's hard to find them. I mean, the average batting average right now is like 220 or something like that, some ridiculous number like that. I don't know what the number is, but it's just a joke. So you got to get hitters.
All right, tell me, you were Dave Dombrowski's counterpart as a GM. You worked for him in Boston. Is he going to do something? What do you think he's going to do?
I think he's going to do something, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be a huge move, but I do believe that he'll address the bullpen and he'll address the right-handed bat. Probably for me, I would think that the bullpen is a little bit more important. I know that it helps round out the offense if you platoon somebody with Brandon Marsh. I think that would be a perfect scenario. Again, you're getting a right-handed bat in JT Realmuto that you have not had. And so there's your right-handed bat. I mean, that's like making a trade. I mean, that's as close to the trade line type of upgrade as you can sort of get. I know Marchand did a pretty good job offensively, nice job defensively. I think Stubbs did a nice job, but they're not JT Realmuto, especially if JT gets hot and does some things that he can do offensively. I don't know if you're going to get a better right-handed bat than that on the market. I don't know if that exists. So there's your right-handed bat. That's where I think the real emphasis is going to be on trying to shore up that bullpen and making sure that Rob Thompson has as many weapons back there that he knows if he has to use Alvarado or Strahm or even Hoffman early in the game, or mix and match guys in a certain spot to win a baseball game in the 7th or 8th, that in the 9th he's got another guy that can maybe get a couple of 2 or 3 really important outs as well. So that's where I think Dave Dombrowski is going to go. I do think that they're going to add. I do believe that he's got that old school mentality that he's got to do something to improve this team. You heard Harper talk about it, how it gives him chills to think about what Dave Dombrowski's going to do. I do, and I know I like the way he pushes buttons, but I don't know if I would have liked it, but that's what he does. But again, I think that Dave knows. He knows the game. He's been a champion. He understands the importance of what another little piece can bring, and it doesn't have to be a huge one. It can be a small one. This team doesn't need a huge one, I don't think. We did in certain spots. We needed a big arm. We needed a right fielder. We needed some arms at times to shore up our rotation. But this team doesn't have those gaping holes that you get that make you worry.
It reminds me of. I was going to say it reminds me of 2008. CC Sabathia. Who's going to get CC Sabathia? You got to get CC Sabathia. You got to get CC Sabathia. And I don't remember what you guys offered the Indians to get him, but obviously you fell short. And then you go out and get Joe Blanton, and it was kind of like, he's okay, but that was an upgrade. I remember Pat Gillick always used to talk about incremental upgrades. If you can upgrade your team a little bit, even just a little bit, it's worth it. You get Joe Blanton and you end up winning the World Series that year.
Well, hey, Ruben, didn't you think a little bit about Manny Ramirez that year? Or was it 2009? One of those years.
One of those years we talked a lot about Manny. I think it was a year after that. We talked a little bit about Manny. We talked a little bit about that one year we were talking about Beltran. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. Beltran ended up being moved for Zack Wheeler.
That's right. Wow,
boom.
That's right.
San Francisco.
Right. How about that?
So yeah, interesting stuff there. But I do think that this team is a way more complete team. I think that an incremental little incremental push would boost the clubhouse a little bit and also boost this ball club.
Yeah, you look at the stars they've brought in starting with Real Muto and Harper, but every offseason they bring in stars. And, they've been all in. It's really time to cash in, and a little tweak here or there, fill a hole, could do wonders. Todd, if you could only do one, the right-handed bat or the reliever, what are you doing?
Man, that's a great question. I just don't know who the right-handed bat would be, but I kind of have flashbacks to the postseason last year where I felt like Rob was a little shorthanded at times, and he kind of boxed himself in with the way they were using guys and who was available and who wasn't available. And so I think just to have another guy that he can go to and feel confident in would be big.
You're talking about it out of the pen, or are you talking
out of the pen? I'm talking about out of the pen, and I say that because I can't remember who wrote the story. It might have been Scott Lauber at the Inquirer broke it down, and it's not. I think a lot of people know this. In the postseason, the hook for the starting pitchers is quick, so you're going to your bullpen a lot in the postseason. So I think having another quality arm, if you're going to pull somebody in 5 2/3 innings, and now you're doing that a lot, you want to have an extra arm in there that you can really rely on and trust. So I think the arm to me would be a bigger difference maker.
I agree. If I can only do one, I'm trying to get a stun gun arm.
Yeah, Mason Miller. That's who everybody wants. That's who everybody wants.
If you want Mason Miller, then you're having to give up both Crawford and Miller, or Crawford and Painter, or Miller and Painter. I mean, I love the arm. He only has 80 some innings pitched in his major league career. It's an electric arm. There's no question. It's an arm that's got a UCL issue. He started. They put him in the bullpen. He pitched well towards the end of the year last year. He's dominating now. I get it. I love him. Don't get me wrong. But you got to think big picture, small picture, micro and macro. In this day and age, you use micro and macro, guys. Okay? Let's step it up. Let's step it up.
Micro, macro. I failed my AP Econ test in high school. I took AP Econ my senior year. I did not get a single college credit for it. I bombed out. So
I still don't know what micro and macro
Don't talk to me about micro and macro, please.
I love macaroons. Is that what you
That's good.
Especially now. They're way better now than they used to be. I mean, the nice little shell on the outside. Nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, Ruben, so you talk about, I think this is a moment, right, where the front office has to really know the players at the top of their system, right? I mean, if you really think Aiden Miller is going to be a superstar, or if you maybe have a little bit of doubt, that's so important, I think, at the trade deadline, is really knowing and self-evaluating your own talent. So, yeah. Because if Dave Dombrowski truly believes that like Aiden Miller is going to be a superstar, and he thinks Andrew Painter is going to come back and be an ace in this rotation, kind of take over for Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nolan a couple of years, I don't know how you trade him for Mason Miller when you're already a very, very good team. But I guess if there's some doubt or kernels of doubt, maybe then you throw caution to the wind and trade him. I don't know.
That's why they make the big bucks. That's why the GMs make the big bucks, because really the self-evaluation is so important. I made some trades. I made a ton of trades, moving a lot of talent, young talent. Carrasco and maybe Darno, probably the biggest two. Happ ended up pitching very well, but guys that didn't kill you, guys who weren't Hall of Famers when they walked out, they weren't like perennial all-stars, but good players. But other than that, of all the moves that we made, those really were the three guys that had some impact in the major leagues, were good major league players. I just feel like, prospects are prospects, and et cetera, but you really have to, I think that's one of the most important things as an organization, is evaluate your own so that you can make the right decisions down the road.
Right. It would be so much easier if the image in the crystal ball were to flash in neon lights. You will win the World Series if you do this move, because it's all about winning the World Series, and there's no executive that wouldn't make a move if he knew he was going to win the World Series. So, but it's a tough call, man. You're right. That's why they're in the big chair.
Another thing to look for, I think, in the second half, we just talked about additions, trade deadline. We talked about keeping guys healthy. How about some of those complementary players toward the bottom of the lineup just stepping up and showing up a little bit more? I'm talking about Bryson Stott. I'm talking about maybe a little bit more consistency from Nick Castellanos, who's actually played pretty well since mid-May. How about Seranthony Domínguez getting on track and staying on track? I think that would ease a lot of concerns in that. And if they do end up getting another bullpen piece and he steps up, boy, now your bullpen looks really good. So Stott, Domínguez, some of these guys, again, lower half of the lineup that could really, I think, make a difference. And in the back end of the bullpen.
All of the above. I mean, you nailed it with the names. They could use some more from every one of those guys. Because the most important guys on this team are the ones that are here right now.
Yeah.
If they could get a little bit more from the guys who produced that kind of the back third, if Stott can come alive like he was last year, what a boon that would be. Castellanos has performed better, as we've articulated over the last few weeks. If you can get a smidge more for him and you can add some consistency, you'll take it. Domínguez is a huge one. He had a pretty good little run going.
Yeah.
Then on Sunday, he was behind everybody, and he was throwing meatballs, and they were hitting him into the parking lot. But they need more from him too. Yeah.
I'm a huge Bryson Stott fan and have been from the very beginning. I mean, we have to remember this guy was a shortstop when they went to the World Series, and he was like a 200, but he's really improved. I think he's a much better hitter than he has shown this year. I think his mechanics have gotten messed up. I think that his thought process has gotten a little away from him. He's in between right now. It seems like he's trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, which is not his game. I think he's a gap-to-gap guy. He handles the ball. He at one point in his career, and I think he will do it again, he handled the ball away and drove the ball the other way with some authority, with base hits over there. And I just feel like he's gotten away from his game plan. He's not using that top hand like he was using last year, which he talked about a lot in the first part of the season, and it kind of carried all the way through the season. I thought this was going to be a breakout year for him. It's been a struggle. But I do know that there's plenty of baseball left for him to get to the point where he's the real Bryson Stott arises and comes forth. Because I will tell you this, when they put JT up ahead of him, they put Castellanos up ahead of him in that lineup, and they slide or they intermix those guys, and Bryson Stott starts to swing it. You talk about length in your lineup. Holy smokes. That's something that the pitcher's just looking at the lineup going, who do I go? Who do I get? And so I think he is really important, a lot more important than just an extra guy. If he comes alive and becomes the guy that he will be eventually and can be, ooh, Nelly, look out, National League.
I mean, he was hitting 300 mid-August last season. And you talk about guys. You still have a lot of time to play. Trea Turner can tell you that from last year. He was not very good until first weekend of August, and then he turned it on towards
maybe
the end.
Bryson Stott needs a standing O.
No doubt.
There we go. That's something.
Bryson Stott a standing O. Get him rolling.
Get him rolling a little bit. And then the last thing I think would be fun to watch, and the first four things we talked about, it was all geared towards winning the World Series. This is the only thing that matters with this team, getting the playoffs, winning a franchise record, regular season. If they don't win the World Series, no one's going to care. And this last thing is not have anything to do with the World Series, but can Bryce Harper run down his third NL MVP? That'll be a fun thing to watch in the second half. Can Zack Wheeler, who came into the season, remember spring training, he says, I'm learning a splitter because I want to win a Cy Young, which was awesome. You remember that? Yeah. I'm learning another pitch because I want to win a Cy Young.
I love the honesty.
Yeah, I love the honesty. Can that happen? And then can Trea Turner get enough plate appearances? He should, if he plays every day, by September to qualify for a batting title and be the first Phillies player to win a batting title since Whitey Ashburn in 1958. Whitey. His whiteness. That's crazy. Yeah, Bobby Abreu on this team, we thought could win a batting title. Chase Utley had a couple years where he was hitting over 330. You thought he might have won a batting title. Hasn't happened since Whitey. So Harper, MVP, Wheeler, Cy Young, Turner, batting title. Those will be kind of some fun things to watch as this team gears up towards the postseason.
Yeah, some great names. You look at Ohtani, who might be the favorite right now for MVP. You just wonder he's a DH. Would people take that into consideration where Harper's on the field every day playing first base? Yelich is having a good year for a contending team.
Yep.
I think right now Zack Wheeler leads the league in ERA, but I think he's tied with Sale. That's going to be a nice race. And I do expect Trea Turner to stay up there high in average. It's just if he gets enough at bats, right?
Yeah. I think I had my colleague Paul Casella, who's a whiz, doing numbers. And he said if he plays every day with the amount of plate appearances he's averaging, by the end of the season, he should clear the minimum, which I think is like a 502 plate appearances, 500 plate appearances. He should clear that. He should clear that by about 75 plate appearances. So he should qualify. The
Yeah,
Harper thing, Ohtani could win the Triple Crown.
Yeah,
he's nuts.
Yeah, he's going crazy. Listen, I was the one pushing hard for if somebody were to sign him, I would have signed him as a hitter. As a hitter only, put him in right field or DH him or do whatever. The whole pitching thing, great. That's like gravy for me. But when you have this kind of a talent, you need to have this guy on the field every single day, wheeling that pole, because he can do some damage, man. I mean, it's super impressive. I mean, I know it's great to have him on the mound, and it's a wonderful story. But man, I would have just signed him to be a hitter. I don't know if it would have been $700 million, but I certainly would have paid him a whole boatload of money to be just an offensive player.
Did you hear what Ohtani? I think this was after the All-Star game. Somebody asked him who impressed him the most while he was in Texas this week. He said Bryce Harper impressed him the most. Watching him and how he prepares for the game, and just watching him go about his business. I thought that was kind of cool. Shohei Ohtani saying the guy that impressed him the most was Bryce Harper.
Not surprised.
So there you go.
Not surprised. He's a routine guy, man. He's locked in. And let me tell you something. Bryce Harper is a hell of a hitter. I mean, he is a hell of a hitter. I mean, he drives ball the opposite way. He can pull the ball. He can hit the ball for power the other way. He can put the ball for power on the pull side. He can do a lot of things, and he can do it at the right time too, man. He rises to the occasion. So it'll be fun to watch him try to run down that MVP. Don't count out Trea Turner for the MVP.
Yeah,
because I will tell you, man,
he'll get some votes.
He may end up with like a top 5 if he continues to do the damage he's doing. Say he hits 15 more home runs to the end of the year.
Yeah,
now you're starting looking at some crazy numbers now. Now he doesn't have the RBIs, but he got the stolen bases, some stolen bases. Never know.
It's
I know Harper's been Player of the Month twice.
Yeah,
but he might have a ridiculous second half.
Oh yeah.
You look at the way how good he's playing. He's healthy, and he's we call him the showman. He loves the center stage, and right now it seems like the Phillies are like the center of baseball. Even more so than they were last year. Definitely more so than they were last. They're like the center of baseball. Best record, 44,000 every night. Dominating their town, dominating their game. He might just feed off all of that spotlight and that glare, and even take it to another level.
I don't know if he would.
It reminds me of Gary Matthews when he used to say, "Hey, man," when I was a bat boy, he looked at me and goes, "Hey, it's time for the show." That's great. Exactly what Bryce Harper's thinking every single night. It's time for the show.
And he wants that ring more than anything. But I don't think the MVP is I think he likes that too. I think he's going to make a run at that too.
He would. I don't think he would ever admit it, but especially if it's like who's going to win it, Shohei or Bryce Harper, I think that could keep him laser focused. I think he would love that. He would love that challenge of trying to running down the big guy and out in LA.
Yeah, because you think about it, I mean, he gets to that third MVP, man. The man's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, how could he not?
MVP in the ring this year. Yeah, he's probably there already. He's close. He's close. He's gonna get there. Yeah, no doubt.
That locks him in.
Yeah. Well, so Phillies, Pirates this weekend. It's going to be Aaron Nola. It's going to open it up on Friday night, and then it's going to be Chris Sanchez and Tyler Phillips Saturday, Sunday. Rob Thompson did not announce which day they will pitch. They will pitch the rest of the weekend, those final 2 games in Pittsburgh, and then some way, shape, or form, Zack Wheeler and Ranger Suárez will open up that 3-game series beginning Monday night in Minnesota. So we'll see how they line it up, see how it goes, and we will be back on Monday to talk more Phillies, guys. Jim, I hope you get your power back on. You can take a shower before Monday.
Yeah, please do, because I can smell you from here.
Well, that's a perfect segue. I will be smelling you guys later.
I'm definitely smelling you.
See you guys. This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.